Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I was just reading that a few minutes ago. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Hmm. Interesting. How you doing this morning? Great to see you here. Thanks for joining me. This is your first time to catch my live broadcast. My name is Renee Harden. I'm your hostess for From the Editor's Desk. This is a live stream that I do every Saturday morning to take a break from work, celebrate the weekend, right? And share stories with you. Stories that I'm working on, stories that I've heard about this week, and sharing great stories, especially from those who normally don't have a voice or have the platform or the ability to share their stories. It's important to share stories. So I hope wherever you are, you'll grab a mug or a beverage, whatever you got, pull up a chair, curl up in a blanket, maybe. Um, it's a little chilly this morning in Dallas, Texas. It is 41 degrees right now. It was a little colder this morning. We did have a freeze. It's supposed to get up in the mid 60s. So we're in that zone here in Texas where, you layer up in the morning and then right about lunchtime, you start peeling the layers off because it gets warmer. It's that crazy time of year where storms can pop up because of these temperature fluctuations. But I hope wherever you are, you're nice and cozy and you'll kick back a little bit and chat with me as I share some great stories and authors and people who are living their lives and doing their thing. And sometimes we don't know how great their stories are. But I'm here to share some with you. How have you been? How was your week? Those that are watching live in different places, thank you so much. Some comments I can see, some comments I cannot. Good morning. Hey, Stephanie, good to see you. You're excited that your morning is clear. Listen, I get it, Stephanie, and thanks for watching on YouTube. I get it. My day is pretty much clear as well. I have no major things on it. I am leaving to go to Nashville tomorrow. My husband and I are going to jaunt there for about 4 days. But today is completely clear. I'm packing. I'm getting some editing work finished. Yeah. So I hope that wherever you are, you're getting to enjoy your day. And thanks for taking a little bit of time this morning to share with me. Good morning, Kelly. Great to have you here, my friend. Good to see you, as always. Well, guys, February, this is the month of celebrating the heart, celebrating. We celebrated last weekend, Valentine's Day weekend. For those that are single, it's Galentine's Day weekend. I hope that whatever you did to celebrate, that it was fun, that you had a chance to get together with those that you love, whether they be friends or your significant other, and celebrate it. Love in a grand way. February is also an important month because it is Black History Month. And this month we focus on the excellence and the stories of our African American brothers and sisters who are out there living life amongst us, right? They're with us too. We're bumping shoulders and working together, hopefully. Some of our best educators are out there, right? And we saw a lot of sportsing. Oh my goodness. Super Bowl weekend. I don't know about you. I enjoyed seeing two new teams come to the Super Bowl. It was so nice. Can I just say, you know how I feel about this. So looking forward to many more Super Bowls without a mention or is even so much a glimmer of Tom Brady. There, I said it out loud. But we have some, excellent athletes that are competing in the Winter Olympics. I don't know about you, but we have been watching the Winter Olympics in this house. My husband is an avid fan of Winter Olympics, and thank goodness for Peacock TV, where we can go back and watch the replays of the competitions. They've been fantastic. Some stories coming out of the Olympics have been great. Some have not been so great. You've probably, maybe if you've been watching the Olympics, you caught some of the stories going out about the Russian ice skaters, women's free skaters. Um, it was a terrible, terrible competition. The way everybody sort of reacted at the end was sad. It created a lot of contention between even the commentators watching because of what's happened. Um, and, those kinds of stories are difficult, especially in a place like that where these athletes have worked and trained for 4 years to get there. The conditions under which they have to live during the time that they're there competing, it's not easy. COVID restrictions in China has made it even harder. My heart went out to the 15-year-old girl who was so crushed by the scrutiny under which she was held in the media all around the globe that when she competed, she fell multiple times and left the ice in tears. Who's to say that we'll even see her again at another Olympic competition? So that's tough. That's tough. Which is why I was pondering that scripture. Um, Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What we share, how we react to things, situations, affect those around us. Affect not only us, but those around us. So that was a hard story to see. But there was some great stories to see um, first timers in medaling in winter sports for the United States. So if you haven't had a chance, I encourage you. Tomorrow is the last day. They're going to have the closing ceremony. It's been a wonderful period of competition. I mean, these athletes are incredible. And so if you get a chance, check it out. If you have Peacock TV, you can go and watch the Olympic replays of all the sports, including one of our favorites, curling. That was a fun thing to watch, especially since Michael and I tried it. We know how the game is played. We know how they score their points. We understand what the markings on the ice are, the rings on the ice, and how it's called the house, and how the points are calculated. So knowing that and being able to watch the competitions now has been incredible because now we understand just how good those athletes are doing a sport where you think it's so easy to slide some granite rocks across ice, but it's actually a lot harder than you think it is. Yeah, Stephanie, that was sad to hear. I felt for her. And then when they replayed the medal ceremony, and there's the girl who won, who was also on the Russian team, but she sat there kind of by herself, like, well, great. It's not how she wanted to win the medal. And don't you know that those coaches are probably going to just, I don't even want to know how they're going to handle and treat her once she gets back home. So that was tough. That was tough to see. And so, I've been thinking about those girls outside of the competition, outside of what everybody is saying, whether you agree with what was going on. Russia is not allowed to technically compete because of doping issues in previous Olympic games. So now but they didn't want to penalize the athletes from the country. They're not the ones involved in it. So they allow them to compete under the Russian Olympic Committee. That's how the athletes are able to come in. There's been a little kerfluffle of how people felt about that, in that we're still allowing the Russian team to compete when they were supposed to be penalized for competing because of doping issues. So when this came up and this young lady showed a positivity in her tests for some kind of heart medication, but they don't know what kind of medication it is. They're saying that it's heart medication. And so that was found in her drug test because these athletes have to be drug tested while they're there to make sure that they're not taking any kind of enhancements or any kind of things that would make them have an unfair advantage over other um, fellow athletes. So that was discovered. And so the ruling was to allow her to compete, which caused a lot of people to get their rankles up, including Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir, who were the commentators on the ice. And when this young lady took the ice, there was dead silence. And we all know how long pauses of dead silence can make us feel, especially when you're watching a sporting event. So that was difficult to watch. All of that scrutiny, and this young lady who was favored to go into first place to win the gold ended up making fourth place. She didn't even medal. And now, you know, what's the biggest story for the next week or two is going to be her falling on the ice, all the pictures, all the videos of her falling on the ice. Imagine how she's going to feel going home. So, yeah, that was tough to see. That was tough to watch. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I'm even convicted by those words of being careful, what I say, how I share it, what my words are going to do, because words are powerful, right? Words are powerful. So today I am celebrating and honoring Black history. I'm going to be sharing some book recommendations, a TV show to watch. What else? I was looking to see if there was any new music I came up with, but I haven't had any of that this week. But we've got a lot to talk about. As you know, I'm an editor. I love helping authors work and tell their stories, crafting their stories. I finished edits on one book of a gentleman who is the president of a global ministry dealing with orphan care and establishing orphan care in countries around the globe. That was a fantastic story to read. I was so honored to get to work on it. So we're in the process of getting those things finalized. I'm helping another client who is self-publishing her book, and she is telling her story about navigating the messy middles of divorce. She's a single mom and has gone through, a devastating situation in her marriage. And this is her story about how she's rising up out of that and creating a great life for her and her daughter. So, and I love to help people shape their words and shape their stories. It's what I love. And so I can't wait for their stories to come out, and I'll be sharing with you pretty soon. One book is going to drop in April. The other is going to drop in May. Great days ahead, right? Speaking of days ahead, guys, exactly 1 month from tomorrow, 1 month from tomorrow is the first day of spring. Oh, can we just lift up a hallelujah for that? I have enjoyed watching the Winter Olympics. Got to tell you, not a fan of walking outside in the cold air. And here in Texas, again, you've heard me say it, I will slightly complain about it, but we are not built for those kinds of temperatures here in the great state of Texas. Maybe in the northern panhandle up close to Oklahoma, where they're used to all of that. They get it up there. Not down here. We're really close to the Gulf. And so when the cold temperatures dip way down here, meanwhile, my friends in other frigid temperatures are laughing at me because, they'll talk about their heat wave of 36 degrees. And I get it, totally get it. But we are 1 month away from spring. And I don't know about you, but I get excited for springtime when we can open windows. Yay, spring. I know, right? Good morning, Carol. Good to see you, my friend. How are you? Stephanie, listen, the celebration will begin. I will be sure to celebrate right here. And then we're going to do some spring cleaning. I am going to be doing some spring cleaning in major ways. As you can see, I got stacks of books everywhere. There's a stack of books right here on my floor next to me with my planner from last year, right? So got a stack of books. I can't keep all of them. I love reading them. I love sharing them. So I think what I'm going to do during the month of March is do a spring cleaning giveaway. Maybe each weekend I will offer up a bundle of books, and one lucky person will get to have them mailed to them directly from my house. Or if you live in the area, I can meet you and just hand you. I would love to, I want to give them to somebody, but I don't want to just, offload them. I do, however, look for little free libraries in our neighborhood, and we have like 3 or 4 of them. So Michael and I visit them quite regularly and put books in them. Do you do that? You should look for little free libraries in your neighborhood. Fill them with some great books. It's a great way to recycle books that you don't need to keep anymore. Anyway, enough about that. We're going to celebrate Black History Month, and I've got some great stories and things to share with you today from some great folks. So, as you know, I am a wordsmith. I'm loving to work with words, and as I was doing some research on this, there are words in our everyday vernacular that we don't realize are rooted in old traditions where we subjugated our Black brothers and sisters into the bonds of slavery. Words that have somehow become part of our everyday language that we don't realize are rooted in things from the past that are hurtful to others, right? We would not want words that evoked the Holocaust to become a part of our vernacular, to where when we were around our Jewish friends and they heard those words, it was very hurtful to them to hear those words, because it brings back memories of loved ones who perished in the Holocaust, loved ones who maybe survived the atrocities of the Holocaust and came out of the concentration camps that they had. And so those are difficult. And so we don't even realize how some of our words in our everyday language can hurt others. We wonder why people are feeling triggered so much by things. And yet, as our Black brothers and sisters walk life daily, they are hearing words and phrases that to them are hurtful and evoke some bad memories. Again, right? And remember, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I'm going to look up that scripture real quick, because, and if you know it, put it there in the comments. I was reading it earlier and closed my Bible app, and now I don't have it. So if you have it, and you can beat me to it, throw it there in the comments. You bought a new bookshelf, and the books still don't fit. I get it, Stephanie, right? That's why we're leaning them up against the bookshelf on the floor, putting them in like nice little decorated stacks. If I could turn my camera to show you, I mean, they're pleasantly stacked. And I even stack them by the largest books on the bottoms and then the smallest books on the top, so they don't topple over. Oh, I'm going to look up this word. Maybe I can spell abundance correctly. Don't you hate when autocorrect, changes your words and messages, or when you're trying to look up something, you're like, that's not even what I typed. But okay. The scripture is Luke chapter 6, verses 45. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Yep. And so, what do you think? What do you think the Lord meant when He said that? And I looked up an article, and it says, it's part of this was part of the Sermon on the Mount that Jesus gave, and He's talking about no good tree bears bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Each tree is recognized by its own fruit. People do not pick figs from thorn bushes or grapes from briars, right? If you've ever grown fruit on a tree, you know what, like in Hawaii, we had mangoes. We know what mangoes look like. You know the kind of tree, right? You know that a mango tree is going to come out. Mangoes don't grow on bushes, but blueberries do. Blueberries grow on bushes. They don't grow on trees. So you can recognize each tree or each thing by its fruit. Another way to say it is a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of, right? So if you want to know what's inside a person, just watch them. Watch how they behave. Look at the things that come out of their mouth. And then you can determine or decide whether you want to associate that person. Or you can also identify what's in that person's heart and what motivates their actions. So he says, when we see, this article says, the primary point of application in Jesus's words seems to be this: when we see evil consistently coming out of a person in word and deed, we should not deceive ourselves by saying, oh, I think he's a really good person inside. He just has a few bad habits. Or, well, that's just the way he talks, right? But when he says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, he meant that consistently sinful words and hurtful words and deeds are indicative of a sinful and hurtful heart. Now, sometimes we can recognize those patterns in people and see, wow, they really need to be educated and learn more so that they can understand and empathize. Then there are those who don't want to understand and empathize. They just want to be, you know, a hot mess and then some. But out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that's just been rolling and rolling and rolling over in my head. So when I look at stories that I'm working on, and I see what my authors are sharing out of their hearts and helping them craft their story so that when those words go out to the audience that it is intended, it blesses them, it encourages them, it edifies them, and it equips them to be able to walk forward enlightened by that story or that knowledge that they just gained, right? So Luke 6:45, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that's been on my mind when I think about these things. So when we talk about words, words that are hurtful, words that are triggering, we may not even know. So I'm going to share with you today the history behind some words and terms that have come up in our daily vernacular that are actually rooted in some difficult situations. You know, we don't want to call it racist, but they come from a time when white supremacy um, enslaved our African American brothers and sisters. So here's an interesting one. We don't think about it, but language works best when it brings as many people into communication with each other. This is Elizabeth Pryor, an associate professor of history at Smith College, said language works best when it brings as many people into communication with each other. If we know by using certain language that we're disinviting certain people from that conversation, then language isn't doing its job. When we use words that divide and separate us, right? We cannot have dialogue and communication to learn from each other and help each other. So, here are some terms that have come up over the years that are a part of our common vernacular. Now, whether you want to change it or I'm not telling you that. I'm merely sharing with you what I know and let you hear it and chew on it a little bit and think about it and maybe change your language. You know, when I work with authors and I have to edit their manuscripts and they get them back and there's sections cut out and parts that I say, you know, this might sound better. You know, I'm not doing it to hurt their feelings or make them feel terrible. I'm actually helping them choose better words to get stronger as a writer and learn how to craft their language so they can use words in such a way, again, as to edify, encourage, and equip, right? So here's something interesting. And this is just language that's used that we don't even realize we use. The term master bedroom. The term master bedroom typically refers to the largest bedroom in the house, often accompanied by a private bathroom. Nationally, 42% of current property listings on Zillow use the term master in the reference to a bedroom or bathroom. The phrase master bedroom first appeared in the 1926 Sears catalog, according to the real estate blog Trelora. It was a feature of a 4,398 Dutch colonial home, which in the 1920s was a lot of money. The most expensive in the catalog and referred to a large second floor bedroom with a private bathroom. Master bedrooms were more widely implemented in American homes after World War II, intended to give working parents a private space within their own homes. Now, because of its slavery era connotations, some members of the real estate industry are now retiring that word and calling it primary bathroom or main bathroom rather than master bathroom. There's terminology even in technology that are the same. Tech engineers use the terms master and slave to describe the components of software and hardware in which one process or device controls another. They've been around for decades. Nobody thought anything of it until 2014. The programming language Drupal replaced master-slave terminology with primary and replica. Another software program called those terms leader and follower. And then Python, one of the most popular programming languages in the world, eliminated the terms in 2018. And last week, Twitter announced it's dropping master, slave, and blacklist from its code after two engineers lobbied for the use of better programming language. America's biggest bank, JP Morgan Chase, is taking similar steps to change their terminology. Because as one of the Twitter engineers that noticed this said, words matter. Words matter. And we want to use proper words that don't hurt or divide, right? In fact, the term blacklist, you've heard the word blacklist where you get blacklisted from something. Well, blacklist and whitelist, those are terms we've had, you've probably used them without really knowing. But in technology, a blacklist refers to a directory of specific elements such as email addresses, IP addresses, or URLs that are blocked. A whitelist, by contrast, is made up of all the elements that are allowed. So, though the origins of these terms don't directly relate to race, you can understand why some people, when they hear them or see them, are like caught off guard, right? Did you even think about that? Have you ever used those terms? I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? Let's see. Oh, here's another one. In the arts. Okay. You ever heard of, the peanut gallery? Well, this phrase usually refers to, where you talk about the cheap seats, the peanut gallery. It's usually in an informal use of people, that sit up there. They're usually the hecklers or the people who can't afford the better seats, right? They're in the peanut gallery. Well, the term dates back to the vaudeville era of the late 19th century and referred to the sections of the theater where Black people typically sat. The term was cemented in pop culture in the 1940s when the radio show Howdy Doody used it to refer to its live audience of children, right? The peanut gallery. And so that's how it kind of just made its way into our common vernacular. How about that? The term grandfathered in, right? If you had a membership at the YMCA and you had family members and you'd been there for many years, and then when they changed the policy, they still allowed you and your family to be on the membership because they were grandfathered in due to the time that you had with, being a member at the YMCA. We used to do that. Well, the legal term broadly refers to the grandfather clause that were adopted by 7 southern states during the Reconstruction era. Under this clause, anyone who was able to vote before 1867 was exempt from the literacy tests, property requirements, and poll taxes that were needed for voting. Enslaved Black people were not freed until 1865 when the 13th Amendment passed and weren't granted the right to vote until the 15th Amendment, which was passed in 1870. So the grandfather clause effectively excluded them from voting, a practice that continued until the 1960s. So now, grandfathered in means that a person or a company are exempt from following new laws, but grandfather clause has its original context rooted in the time when Black people were not allowed to vote. Interesting, isn't it? Here's another one. Here's our last one. You ever heard the term cakewalk? Oh, it's just a cakewalk, right? It's what we call something an easy win, or if we've got a project due and it's a cakewalk, I'll have it done, before lunch, right? Well, the cakewalk originally was done as a dance performed by enslaved Black people on plantations before the Civil War. It was intended to be a mockery of the way white people danced, though plantation owners often interpreted slaves' movements as unskilled attempts to be like them. So the plantation owners would hold a contest and in which the enslaved people would compete for a cake. So later the dance and the idiom, a cakewalk, was popularized through the minstrel shows and characterized by a high leg prance with a backward tilt of the head, shoulders, and upper torso. A cakewalk, a term that comes from the plantations before the Civil War. So words and phrases, language that is so important because our words matter. Our words matter to us and to those around us. And it's so important that we understand why it's important, right? Because again, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And we don't want our words to be hurtful or trip up others, right? So, words matter. And words matter to great people who lived their life and did some amazing, incredible things that we don't even really hear about, right? Stories of people who we may not know. For example, and again, just doing some research and ran across this lady. And I'm going to share my screen with you because I was just fascinated as I was doing some research behind unsung heroes, stories that you don't normally hear about, but that were amazing people, right? So here's one that I found that I thought was really interesting. And her name is Margaret E. Bailey. She was a United States Army Nurse Corps colonel. She served in the Corps for 27 years, from July 1944 to 1971, 9 of which she served in France, Germany, and Japan. During her career, Bailey advanced from a second lieutenant to a colonel, highest achievable military rank in the Nurse Corps. She set several landmarks for Black nurses in the U.S. military, becoming the first Black lieutenant colonel in 1964, the first Black chief nurse in a mixed, non-segregated unit in 1966, and the first Black full colonel in 1967. She treated German prisoners of war in the later years of her military career. She actively worked with minority organizations and advocated to increase Black participation in the Corps. And after her retirement from the Army, she served as a consultant to the Surgeon General in the Nixon administration, working to increase the number of minorities in the Nurse Corps. For many years, she made speeches supporting equal participation in the United States Army and across the United States. She passed away August 28th of 2014. But this is pretty amazing. I mean, just her story, where she came from. She was born in Selma, Alabama, right, in 1915, but all about her life, the things that she did. I mean, she had a civilian nursing career from 1938 to 1944. Then she served in the military from 1944 to 1971. She was in the Army Corps when the Normandy landings happened. Um, at the time, the US military was segregated, and the Army Nurse Corps was reluctant to admit Black nurses at all until 1941, thanks to Eleanor Roosevelt, right? Um, just fascinating. I mean, you can look at all of her work, her political career and social activism, things that she did to help encourage others. She was active member of Chi Eta Phi, which is a professional organization of registered nurses. She received many awards and commendations during her service. Why don't we know more about Miss Margaret Bailey, right? So there's a little bit of a bunny trail you can go off on. Do some research about Margaret Bailey. I thought her story was fascinating. It was, you know, it was truly amazing because um I hadn't heard anything about her. I hadn't heard anything about her. I'm going to show you that book in a minute. But I didn't really know anything about her. And it's great when we can read stories about people like that. And I'll be sharing some more stories like this the rest of this month of just great people that we didn't even know about. So some of those you knew, but the tech ones were new to me. Stephanie, you're welcome, right? I mean, once we know those terms, we can then understand. I mean, and especially in the tech world, you don't think about it, but how much those terms just come into our vernacular that we don't even realize. And so when someone like that, like those Twitter engineers, stepped up and said, "Hey, we might want to do this a little differently," it's great that companies and people are changing the way we do things because it's a better way to reach out to our brothers and sisters and form those bonds. And so the book that you saw me sharing, this is a great book that I'm going to be recommending to you. Let me get that back up on the screen so you can see it. I am a huge fan of Brene Brown's work. Brene Brown is a researcher who has extensive experience in working with vulnerability and shame and the human emotion. We are, in my book club, we are going through her book, Atlas of the Heart. Next weekend, I'm going to be doing my show completely on this book because it has been such a game changer for me, helping you to recognize 87 of the emotions and experience that define what makes us human, how we can create meaningful connections with others by identifying and learning about these emotions that exist in every human being and walking through. And I mean, she clearly defines these terms and helps you understand. Trying to find this one page, hold on. Learn things like, for example, last week I talked on this a little bit, but she said, envy occurs when we want something that somebody else has. Jealousy is when we fear losing a relationship or something, right? Or a valued part of a relationship that we already have, right? So the difference between jealousy and envy. We say, "Oh my God, I love your outfit. I'm so jealous." No, we're not jealous. We're envious. We want the outfit that the other person has. We like it so much. We're like, "Ooh, I just kind of want that." Well, if you want something that somebody else has, that's envy. If you're jealous because something is a threat to something you already have and you're afraid of losing it. That's jealousy. And so just being able to identify those words helps. For example, when we left off in our book club discussion, we stopped because one of the gals in the group had not gotten to this section yet, and we didn't want to blow it, right? But have you ever heard of the word Schadenfreude? Schadenfreude. You'd probably experienced it if you've never heard of the word. But Schadenfreude simply means pleasure or joy derived from someone else's suffering or misfortune. You ever have some fool cut you off in traffic and then they end up getting like pulled over or in an accident? And the back of your mind, you're like, mm, mm-hmm, you got yours, honey. Well, that's Schadenfreude. That's getting a little bit of pleasure from somebody else's misfortune or suffering. And sometimes we feel that it's justified when when we don't like that person, right? And so Schadenfreude, it means rejoicing at, taking fun in, or getting pleasure from the misfortunes of others. Huh. Nothing that celebrates the humiliation or pain of another person builds lasting connection. And it's on this page in really large letters so that you can see it right there. Right there. See? Whew. Nothing that celebrates the humiliation or pain of another person builds lasting connection. When someone else is suffering and we feel joy, there is decreased activity in the area of the brain that processes empathy and increased activity in the reward centers. In other words, when we feel Schadenfreude, it shuts down the area of our brain that we use when feeling empathy and lights up the area of the brain that make us feel good and that entice us to engage in similar behavior in the future. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. How how do people enjoy taking part in making other people suffer or causing that division? What happens, right? Well, there's an opposite to that. There's an opposite to that, right? For every force in nature, there is an opposite, right? We know that from basic physics. So there is a word called Freudenfreud. It's the opposite of Schadenfreude. And Freudenfreud is different. It's when you enjoy another's success. For example, these Olympic athletes, when you're cheering for a team or you're cheering for Team USA, or you're cheering for a specific athlete who you've been watching, like, wow, they are so good. And so when they win, or when your Super Bowl team wins, you're like, yes, right? That's Freudenfreud. You are celebrating the victory of another. And this is something that I found interesting in Brene Brown's work when she said, oh, here it is. Brene said, and this is her, how she and her husband have worked to help their children learn this. She said, as Steve and I support our kids in learning how to cultivate meaningful connection with the people in their lives, we've always told them, good friends aren't afraid of your light. Let me say that again. Good friends are not afraid of your light. They never blow out your flame, and you don't blow out others, even when it's really bright and it makes you worry about your own flame. When something good happens to you, they celebrate your flame. When something happens to them, you celebrate their flame. To illustrate, we've had our kids hold their hands out, palms flat, open, and say, if this is your flame and the wind picks up, good friends will cup their hands around your flame to prevent it from going out. And you do the same for them. No flame blower outers was our way of saying more Freudenfreud, less Schadenfreude. Oh, I love that, right? Good people are not afraid of your light. Good people are not going to blow your flame out, right? If your light is shining and the wind picks up, think about that. If your light is shining and the wind picks up, good friends are going to come around you and cup their hands around you so that your flame doesn't blow out. No flame blower outers. We're not going to be flame blower outers, right? We are going to learn. So if you want to join the book club, there's still time. You can grab the book. We're going to have a discussion at the end of the month on March 1st, where we're going to wrap up this book. And then I'm going to share what we're going to read for March. But Brene Brown's work, and so she's done an incredible work and a great book with someone that I really think is important, because I've said this more than once to other people, and they kind of look at me funny when I say it. And I even remember one time that I posted this on Facebook, and I got some major pushback from certain people. But now I know why they did. But I asked some of my friends, or mentioned to some of my friends who, aren't quite understanding this whole, the Black Lives Matter movement, and why some African American people are just kind of at their limit with what they have to go through on a daily basis. And some of my friends didn't really understand, and were trying to base a lot of what they know on just what they see on social media. Hello, number one mistake. And so I've asked them, do you have any Black friends? I mean, or even when I look at your social media friend list, if I can see it, do you have any Black friends? Do you have any African American friends? Have you gone to church with them? Have you befriended them? Have you, other than just the casual hi, have you walked in life? Do you have Black brothers and sisters as friends in your life? And some of them they said, I don't. I said, well, there you go. There's the number one thing, because until you understand and have walked in their shoes with them, or walked close enough to understand what they go through in life, you don't understand the Black experience, especially in our country and around the world. So there's been a great book come out that Brene Brown actually worked on, which has been really great. And this is one that I highly recommend that you read. It is a collection of essays. And let me see if I can do it this way. There you go. There we go. It's a collection of essays. It's called You Are Your Best Thing. And it is co-edited. These essays were edited and assembled by Brene Brown and a woman named Tarana Burke. If you're not familiar with who Tarana Burke is the woman who started the Me Too movement, hoping to encourage other women to stand up against the onslaught of how they've been treated in the workplace and in life in general. And so Tarana contacted Brene because they've worked together. They appreciate each other's work. And Tarana wanted to come to Brene Brown to work on this, to present something to the public that would give people insight into the Black experience without making them feel bad or anything like that. It's just to open up their minds. And as they mentioned here, let me see, I'll put this back up like this so you can see it. But what she mentions here is this anthology is a space to recognize and process the trauma of white supremacy, a space to be vulnerable and affirm the fullness of Black life and Black possibility, a space that gives Black humanity breathing room. Breathing room, just a place where they can talk about stories of their life, open up that vulnerability, share their story of how they've had to walk in a level of shame that has been placed upon them for no reason at all, just in our society, and what it's like to be a Black person living today. So if you want to educate yourself, if you want to just hear the voices, hear the stories of some of our Black brothers and sisters, and you appreciate Brene Brown's work, I highly recommend this book. It's a collect. They're just some of the stories. If you know the woman who is named Awesomely Lovey on social media, her essay is in there about her life. Did you know that she is from Nigeria and has a beautiful? I think it's Ifeowula is her Nigerian name. How did she come up with the name Lovey? And if you follow her on social media, she's hilarious. She's a blast. As many of you know, we read the book by social media sensation Tabitha Brown, Feeding the Soul, and learned about her experience in coming up and becoming the social media phenomenon that she is. So I highly suggest that you grab a copy of this book. Like I said, it's a collection of essays, so it's a collection of stories from across the spectrum of Black voices. And I think you'll be encouraged and hopefully aware of and enlightened to what our Black brothers and sisters deal with on a daily basis and help give you that capacity to empathize and create some meaningful connections with maybe some of your Black friends that you encounter at work or just in society. Get to know them, walk through life with them, encourage them. And more than anything, don't be a flame blower outer. That's not who you are. Um, Great, Stephanie. Stephanie, I think you're really going to enjoy it. I've been really encouraged by hearing their stories, right? How can you not be encouraged by hearing great stories? And great stories usually move people. They'll usually move you forward or knock you back. But hopefully, if they knock you back, it's so that you can get up and walk away from the experience with a little more knowledge and understanding so that you can move forward, right? So grab a copy of it, support your local bookstore. Grab a copy of it. It's called You Are Your Best Thing. And if you follow me here on social media, I'll be sharing all the links to get these. I'll be sharing these in the next week. Those of you that are on my VIP list, I'm putting these together along with this month's broadcast to go out to you for the month. So I'm really excited to share that with you. If you want to get on the email list, I'll be sharing a link with how you can do that. More importantly, I love getting to share fun things. One fun thing I do want to share that I think you would love is a TV show. I love this because I was an educator, and then I've got a couple of children's books that I want to share with you that I think are really great. But there is a show on right now called Abbott Elementary. If you're not watching it or if you haven't watched it before, here we go. I'm going to share this in the show. If you've been a teacher, if you are a teacher, if you've taught in the school system, you will appreciate this show. It's called Abbott Elementary, and it's about a group of teachers who are underfunded and underappreciated and dealing with things that they have to deal with in teaching children. But I think you will love this. It's funny, and it's on ABC. It's called Abbott Elementary. Such a fun little show. The characters are so great. The girl that's holding the sign, she's one of the lead teachers, and she's fabulous. And then, of course, they have a tone-deaf principal who doesn't really want to listen to them. And so it just shares all those day-to-day things that these teachers come up across, and it's hilarious. So it's fun. Check it out. Tell me what you think. I think you'll appreciate the show. Abbott Elementary, really fun, and it's on ABC, and you can catch up. But yeah, I mean, fun things, ways that we can learn, ways that we can celebrate the great stories of our African American brothers and sisters so that we can learn to walk with them and appreciate them, and more importantly, love on them, make deep, meaningful connections to them. Because again, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So we want our connection and our interaction with them to be encouraging and edifying and equipping, right? Because we're all in this together. So guys, I hope you know that you are fully known and truly loved. And then today's mug of the day. Oh, there's my yard guy getting ready to do his thing. I'm getting ready to do mine. I hope you are too. If you would like to learn more about these or anything that I talked about on the broadcast today, um, definitely let me know. You can join the book club. Just go to ronaeharden.com/contact. You can get in touch with me if you would like to talk about writing. If you've got a story that you are in the middle of writing, you'd like to put that together and you want to know the steps on what it takes to get that done, let me know. If you would like to talk to me about editing services, maybe you've got something already written and you want to know how to get it published, let me know about that. But you can join the book club or you can just sign up and schedule a 30-minute free consultation where we can have a cup of coffee and just talk about stuff. Maybe it's things that I share in the broadcast. Maybe it's about some books that I've recommended. Maybe it's about some stories you want to share. Let me know how I can do that. Your mug has a face on it too. I love that, right? I love it. You have to show me, send me a picture of what your mug looks like, Stephanie, if it's got a face on it. Is it your face? Is it somebody else's face? Is it a big smiley face? Whatever it is, guys, I hope you make this weekend fantastic. Get out there and share your story with someone. Your story might be the encouragement someone needs to move forward and make a better choice about something. Or maybe you're just there to give someone encouragement. I hope this has been encouraging to you. That's why I like to come on here on Saturday mornings and share some time with you. So again, contact me at any time right here at ronaeharden.com/contact. Let me know how I can help you, be of assistance. You can sign up. There's still time to catch us for the book club so we can talk about Brene Brown's book. And I will be doing an extended review and discussion of the book next Saturday. So if you want to join me, mark your calendars for next Saturday morning, where I will be walking through the book Atlas of the Heart, sharing some of the chapters that I feel were just life-changing for me. Really eye-opening. There's so much meaty material in here, but Brene does a great job of making it concise and clear and easy to digest, but it leaves you with a lot to think about. And I love books that get me to thinking. All right. Well, thanks, Sherry. You too, my friend. Love you. As always, great to see you here. To everyone who watched the broadcast live, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your morning to share coffee with me. I hope you'll get out there and make today awesome. One sip at a time. And I'll be back here next Saturday, to kick off another great discussion with you. All right. Take care. Have